We are live. Questions with the coach. The only problem with these live sessions is like they don't actually take off for like the first couple minutes or so. So I'm gonna sit here and drink some coffee and wait for people to join, and then we'll hop right into it. Two questions, or I should say topics, that I want to tackle today. First one, and this one's come up several times already. I know I addressed it on my latest podcast. That's right, I've got my own podcast. Working with my buddy Ross. We got the Home and Body Improvement Show. It's already live on Spotify and iTunes, and you can catch it at my website at coachpots.com. But the one topic that, like, I think he asked, and it's like several people for some reason have already asked me this one as well, is what time of day should you work out? So I'll give my thoughts about that. And then I also want to talk about inflammation, or essentially any way that your body is like kind of talking to you. So I don't care if it's knee pain or joint pain or tennis elbow or whatever it is. That's all usually symptoms of something that's going on. So I will give you my thoughts about it, and we can kind of go from there. So Tony Blanco's in the house. What's up, Tony? Haven't seen you in years, man. You back down in Narlands, or where are you at these days? Man, comedy in Chicago is just, in my opinion, has plummeted since we left the scene. No way will comedy Chicago peak like it did when Tony Blanco and Jack Calhoun were terrorizing the Chicago circuit. But you know what? That was, as I like to refer to it, the golden age. But some might differ. I don't know. Barb, how's it going? All the way from Doha. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. This is Questions with the Coach, Barb, Tony. If you guys have any questions at all, ideally fitness related, but I'll answer anything at this point because we're early in the broadcast. I will do my best to answer them. Texas, my friend, that's great. Doing jiu-jitsu, staying in shape, I hope. There ain't nothing more important than your health, Tony, so be sure to take care of that. Are you a gi or no gi kind of guy? In fact, I think all jiu-jitsu is gi, right? I used to be able to do my chokes, the triangle, and you have to grab the collar and get the guy in the guard. Yeah, so I sound like the commentators from like the first 2 or 3 UFCs. Like I know enough to know that what they're doing might resemble something, but not enough to talk knowledgeably about the sport as a subject matter expert. But I remember the jiu-jitsu days, man. All you gotta do is get them to the ground, man. No one's used to grappling on the ground. That's what jiu-jitsu's all about. We'll give another minute or two, and then I'll just roll into my first topic, which will be what time of day should you work out? And that's if you're actually working out. Why wouldn't you work out? Tony Blanco is doing jiu-jitsu. That's amazing. Because I think anything you do to stay active these days is great. The only issue I would say these days, obviously, is you need someone else to do jiu-jitsu with, right? So what are we doing to stay in shape? Everybody and their brother has a Peloton. I don't know if you knew this, but Peloton, the actual company, the app, they are giving away, I believe, 3 free months of access to their app. And their app isn't just riding. When you see all the commercials, you think Peloton, you think the bike, but they also have a treadmill, and they also have a boot camp type stuff. So essentially what I'm doing, they're giving away free fitness classes. The only difference between their classes and my classes are twofold. A, mine are better because it's me. And B, you can actually talk to me, and that's why I'm here right now, to answer all your fitness questions. So there's a lot of that going around where people are kind of just giving out like free stuff, especially now. I have a newsletter where I talk totally about hip stretches, Tony. I did that in the last 2, and I'll talk about that in a second as well. But the free classes are online Monday through Friday at noon, Tuesday through Friday at 6:30. I was getting people to join, but not as many as I had hoped. So I had several. I want umpteen. So I will be streaming the classes free starting next week on Facebook Live as well. I need comments. I need traction. I need people signing in. Tell me, you tell me how good it is. Tell me how bad it is. I just want people engaged. So whatever it is you need to do to get engaged, I'm going to start posting stuff on Facebook so we can I can connect with more people that way. Hip stretches. I think the best hip stretch you can do is the pigeon pose. So if you're familiar with yoga, it literally is trying to take your ankle and put it on your chin, right? But you do that while kind of facing the floor. There's several versions of that. The one I offer in my latest newsletters, where you lay on your back, and I hate to do this now, but might as well. You put your ankle across your knee like this, and then you kind of reach through this window that you created, and either grab your knee, your shin, and just kind of bring it back in. That's obviously a little bit more advanced in terms of, but it will definitely open up the hip. That's always been my favorite. If you're in what's called pigeon pose, you can always Google it, or you can subscribe to my newsletter. And you want to stay there for no less than 30 seconds. But they say every stretch minimally should be at least 20 seconds, because what happens is, this is like you stretch and this is your tight muscle. After about 20 seconds, that muscle starts to kind of unwind and loosen up. But you need to put stress on it, and it has to be there for at least 20 seconds before it starts to unwind. But something like pigeon pose is probably what you're going to do after you're fully warmed up, or the core body temperature is elevated. And you're going to hold that for like a minute, 2, 3 minutes, however long you want to hold that for. But I guarantee the longer you're in the stretch, the more you can get into it. And then afterward, the better you're going to feel. So that's a phenomenal hip opening stretch. And then if you can't actually reach to that window and pull your hamstring back, or you can't actually get on the ground, what you can do is literally just wrap a towel or something to your ankle and just kind of work that as I say, try to get your chin to your ankle. That's a phenomenal one. Another one I like is very simple. It's just a deep stretch or deep squat. So we do this at the beginning and the end of almost all my workouts, where you literally are just sitting, or not sitting, you're actually on your feet, but you try to get your knee or your elbows inside your knees, and you just try to squat down as far as you possibly can, keeping your heels on the ground. It's just a hip opening stretch. The two things that you need to keep mobile throughout your life are your hips and your shoulders, and you'll find that if you can keep those two areas mobile, you're going to alleviate a lot of the other issues that you're going to have going on in life. I think what happens too often is that we all have desk jobs, so sitting at a desk, it kind of like your knees are closer to your body, and so it tightens up after a while when we're sitting that long. So when we have tight muscles, what happens, it'll tighten on one side, loosen on the other. There's a big imbalance there. It causes a lot of issues going forward. Same thing when we type a lot, right? It's called internal rotation. Your shoulders will end up kind of like, and then all of a sudden we have like these issues where this muscle's tight, this muscle back here is loose. There's an imbalance in the shoulder. You try to do, stretch one time because it's tight. You blow your rotator cuff out. You're having surgery. You're calling me. I'm charging an arm and a leg. Insurance doesn't cover it. You're in bad shape. Well, it could have all been alleviated had you been stretching out the shoulders and the hips throughout your life. So, what was the topic I want to talk about? What time of day should you work out? That's a great question. I'm glad I asked it. If you guys have any other questions, fire away. I'll answer those as well. I work out in the morning. I do it because I want to get it out of the way. I don't like to put it off for any longer than I have to. I know that I am less likely to work out if I do it in the evening time. Now, that works for me. So it's the first thing I do in the morning. I usually have what I call my go drink in the morning. So it's a combination of a bunch of stuff I kind of threw together. Essentially the master cleanse with a bunch of other things on top. So I'll just run over the ingredients real quick. I have spirulina, BCAAs, wheatgrass powder, cayenne pepper, cinnamon, honey, apple cider vinegar, and sometimes some MCT oil, and I just toss it all in there. A little bit of lemon juice, shake it up, drink it. It tastes horrible. I've been doing it for years. I tend not to get sick, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I do that on a daily basis. That's my morning go drink. I have that, and it's about approximately 20 to 25 ounces, so that gets me started, and then I do my workout. So, I mean, am I working out on an empty stomach? Pretty much. I mean, the total calories for that drink is probably like 100, it's almost nothing. So I blow through that. I usually have enough energy to get through that workout, whatever that workout may be. And then I kind of put off my first meal-ish until I kind of do start to feel hungry, which could be anywhere from like 10 o'clock until like 1 o'clock. But if I don't work out in the morning, I'll have to push it to the afternoon. And then I teach class at noon as well. That noon class, that's I don't know, I'm just like less likely as the day goes on. So if I know I have to work out at 5 o'clock, anything can happen in between now and 5 o'clock, and all of a sudden my workout is not a priority, and then you start cutting deals with yourself. You start saying things like, well, I'll double it up, tomorrow if I skip today's workout, or, I'm supposed to work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now I'm going to work out Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but then Saturday rolls around, you end up skipping that day. So get it out of the way. Is that the most ideal time to work out? not what the experts say. The experts tell you that you should probably work out a little bit later in the day because the body's already been moving, core temperature's already been elevated, you're less likely to pull muscles, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there's some truth to that as well. Being active before you work out is obviously ideal, so working out in the evening time does make a little bit more sense, but on the flip side, sometimes I'm a little bit more tired in the evening time than I am in the morning. So I guess it really depends on if you're a morning or afternoon or evening person. Whatever that time when you have the most energy is the most ideal time to do it, like do your workout then. But I've just worked out enough to where I know that if I warm up properly, get the workout, I'm done for the day, and I tend to have a little bit more energy during the day on the days that I work out. Unless it's a crazy hard workout, then all of a sudden I'm a little bit more tired throughout the day. But time of day is really up to you. The experts say you probably should work out a little bit more in the evening time because your body's already been moving. I personally prefer morning workouts because I just want to get them out of the way, and I'm more likely to get them done if I do it early. Same thing with the week too. I like to load up my workouts on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe take Thursday off. Friday, then I don't have to worry about if I want to not work out Saturday, Sunday. I'll shoot for 6 days a week. If I get 4 to 5, I'm happy with that. But even if I'm doing 4 to 5, I'm definitely trying to hit that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then after that, I can kind of space it out a little bit. So 4 active days during the week minimum, right? And ideally earlier in the week because I know as the week goes on, I'm less likely to do it. So that is that. Again, if you guys have questions, send them. I don't know if you can tell, I got a computer screen right here that I'm checking in with. Mark Van is in the house. Jeff Welsh, what's up, buddy? Corey Gibson, haven't seen you in a while. My long-lost relative. Mark Pataki, how are you, my friend? We're not technically related, but I feel like we are. We have enough personality traits we have that Pataki blood. Megan, always a pleasure. Good chit-chatting with you, as always. Jim Flanagan, when's the podcast coming out? I can't wait I was on Jim Flanagan's podcast recently, so I will share that with the world whenever that is released. Yeah, buddy. So second topic was inflammation. Remember inflammation now, I remember, I think it was yeah man, it's my office. Thank you, Mark, I appreciate it. I'll give you a tour sometime, but right now I'm in the middle of a question session with the coach, man. Your priorities are screwed up. Don't worry about my office. This mic it's not even on right now, but I do use this to record the podcast. So inflammation. Inflammation is the body's way of telling you that you need to lay off that particular area. So inflammation is actually a good thing in the sense that it telling your body that it requires rest, it requires some sort of treatment. I forget what movie it was. I think it was Darkman, if everyone remembers that one, where he didn't have a nervous system, so he didn't feel pain. I was like, that's so sweet, man. I would be so much better at football had I not felt any pain ever, right? But pain it serves a purpose in the body, and the purpose in terms of inflammation is telling you that unless the pain is acute, which you snap your ankle, you bust up your shoulder, you do something like that, that would be an acute injury. Like a tennis elbow is a great runner's knee, all that type of stuff. These are typically overuse injuries. So there could be a handful of things at play, but when it comes to dealing with pain in the body, and it's not just pain, it's almost everything in the body, doctors typically will deal with the symptoms, but they won't deal with the cause. And so what I mean by that is if someone punches me in the face, obviously, I'm going to have some inflammation there. It's going to hurt. It's going to swell. It's going to be discolored. And then I'm going to need to do several things to reduce the swelling. I could use ice, the combination of rest, ice, compression, elevation. It's hard to do on your face, so maybe that was a bad example. But that type of thing is going to help reduce the swelling. And then you could also take pills to help reduce the swelling. You could take any type of, some sort of remedy, some herbal drink, whatever, is going to help with the symptoms. But that's not going to stop someone coming along and punching you in the face and repeating all that cycle again. So as trainers and as coaches and other types, what we try to do is help you to address the causes of these issues as opposed to dealing with the symptoms. So doctors will, and therapists and all that stuff like that, they'll help you deal with the symptoms, but they don't help you deal with the cause in the sense that a doctor isn't going to tell you, prescribe a better running plan to help alleviate your knee pain, because that's not what doctors do. Doctors treat symptoms. So they'll give you medication. They may send you to a physical therapist. They may, put your arm in a sling. They may do that. That's what they do. And they try to get you back to where you were. Coaches in particular will try to alleviate any of those types of injuries by prescribing exercise programs that will help work with those like known issues. Now, I'm not a physical therapist, but I know for a fact that a lot of runners in particular that have knee issues they'll be given orthotics or special shoes, or they'll have you assigned to a running coach so they can assign your gait, which is just essentially the way you move. And they'll tell you certain things like, well, your feet go out. You might want to try to get them to move in, or they might go in too much, and you might want to try and go out. So they'll work with you on those types of things. And over time, those overuse injuries don't occur as often because you're working on the form. And by using correct form, or I should say form that's correct for you, will make sure that those overuse injuries don't occur. I mean, let's be honest. If you play golf all the time, at some point you're going to have some sort of shoulder issues or hip issues or knee issues. It's going to happen. But if you work with a golf coach from the get-go, they are going to help you with your swing, and thereby, instead of it, when you start to when it actually happens, those issues won't happen until later on because you're using better form the entire time. So because you're experiencing some sort of inflammation or pain, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's your body's way of telling you, hey, we're not doing something the most efficient or best way possible. One of the worst things you can do is just continue to address the symptoms. So take some sort of pain reliever or any kind of pill that's going to help deal with the acute problems, but over the long term, it's not going to help. It's not going to prevent those problems from happening again. So what time of day should you work out? Depends what's best for you. Experts say in the evening. I like it in the morning. That's what works for me. Inflammation, not necessarily a bad thing. That's your body's way of saying, hey, what you're doing probably could be done in a better way. Let's try to work on our form. Let's find a coach. Let's find a physical therapist. Let's find somebody that can help us prevent those overuse injuries, because that's the only way to make sure that they don't happen again. That's it for me, folks. I've been yammering for long enough. This talk in particular will be available, well, it'll always be available on YouTube. It'll be available on Facebook, but I do post them on YouTube as well. I got a site, Coach Potts. That's my channel, I should say, and I also have a website, coachpotts.com. So check it all out, folks. Sitting here and watching me talk is awesome. Asking me questions is even better. I thank you all for tuning in, but I got other stuff I want to do. It's Friday, and I'm sure you do as well, so make it happen. And we'll do it again next week. Friday, usually around 2 o'clock. I'll start promoting it a little bit more just so we can get more people. But if nothing else, this is therapeutic for me. I mean, the sound of my own voice is like music to my ears. So, no? Not funny? You guys didn't think that was funny? Okay, folks. We'll talk to you next time.